It's another reset day in the kitchen. I'm just prepping some things to make my week easier. I have some meat thawed. These are some chicken thighs from some of our chickens that we butchered. I'm just going to pop them in the oven and let them cook while I do some other things. It is time to make some bread, so I'm going to go ahead and mix my starter up this morning while I'm in the kitchen doing these other things, and it can rise, and I'll mix my bread up later this evening. My husband grilled some salmon on the grill this weekend, so I'm just taking the leftovers out, and I'm going to mix up some salmon patties for supper tonight. I just put salt, pepper, some quinoa if I have it cooked already, flour, eggs, and I'll just cover this and put it in the refrigerator until this evening when it's time to cook it for supper. I'm taking a roast out of the meat that I have thawed for the week, and I'm going to just cut it up into smaller pieces and put it in my Instapot. And once I take it out of it, I will cut it up even smaller. I don't actually have an Instapot. Mine is a Ninja, and it has a pressure cooker function on it, which I love. I use it a lot. So I just put some salt and pepper on these, and I'm just going to let those cook. And once they're ready, I will take them out, cut them up smaller. Now I'm taking out some chicken breast. These are also from some chickens that we butchered here that we raised. And I'm just salt and pepper them, and I'm going to put them with some quinoa. But first, I'm going to clean up just a tiny little bit. And days like this, I use my dishwasher for a drying rack because I have so many dishes, they're not going to fit in there. It's more convenient for me just to wash them by hand. So now I'm back over here. I have my quinoa, and I'm just going to put that in there with some chicken broth and salt, pepper, seasonings, and then I'll put the chicken breast on top, and I'm going to pop that in the oven with the chicken thighs and let that cook while I do some other things. I do buy quinoa, rice, things like that in bulk, and I store them in Mylar bags, and once I open them, I just store the remainder in mason jars. And the chicken broth, I didn't use all of it. That's from chickens that we of course butchered here, and I made my own broth. I just stick the rest of that in the refrigerator for later. And I stop whenever I can in between just to wash up dishes so I don't have a pile of dishes at the end. That feels less overwhelming to me. So that's the way that I do it. So you'll see me stop several times, do a little quick cleanup, and then move on to the next task. I'm just putting these apples up. We buy a lot of apples at one time from Sam's. They have good organic apples there. And now I'm just washing up the eggs from the last day or two and getting them on the counter to dry. I'm just checking in on our chicken, flipping it over, sticking it back in the oven. Here I'm just seasoning up some hamburger. I think I took out 2 packs. I'm putting salt, pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, woo-woo sauce. I'll put some bread and a couple eggs in it. We call these hamburger steaks. We make these into patties and cook them in the frying pan. I also want to make a little juice for the week for myself, so I'll go in between juicing and doing a few other things. Our thighs are ready. I just put those in a container, stuck them in the refrigerator for later in the week. And now I am greasing my pan to start cooking the hamburger steaks. And in my juice this week, I'm just putting carrots, apples, spinach, a little ginger, and lemons. Checking in on the roast, it's ready, and just checking and flipping the hamburger steaks. And what I don't use here of the spinach, I'll just bag up, put in the refrigerator to eat fresh this week. If we don't need it, I'll pop it in the freezer. And I always make a couple packs of hamburger whenever I do this, so I can stick them in the freezer because they freeze so well, and it's so convenient just to pull them out on a night when you don't want to cook. And now back to more cleanup. Our roast is finished, so I'm just taking it out. I'll probably let it cool just a little bit before I cut it up. And I'm just cutting the roast up into smaller pieces. I'll be freezing this roast. I put it in 2 containers. And I do use my scissors to cut stuff like that up with, my kitchen scissors. To me, it's so much easier on my hands. Now I'm taking out any leftover vegetables that I had from over the weekend out the refrigerator, and some plates that I have in the freezer that maybe only had a meat or a vegetable on it, and I need to finish them off. So that's what I'll do with a lot of this that I'm cooking today. And those are plates that my husband takes to work for lunch during the week. And this is our cut up roast. I'm just separating it into 2 containers. I will mark it and put it in the freezer for a meal later. And the way I like to package things like these hamburger steaks is individually wrap them in saran wrap, then stick them in a freezer bag. That way I can pull out just 1 or 2 or 3 or ever how many I need when I decide to use them. And the quinoa and chicken breast, I'm just going to put the leftover quinoa that I didn't use on the plates in another plate with the chicken breast. And that will be something my husband can also take to work. I'll just add a vegetable to it later. And if you remember, we mixed up our starter for the bread this morning when we first got started, and that still needs to sit a little while, so I'll probably do that this evening and then bake it in the morning, so you won't see that on this video. I'm just going to finish cleaning up here, and that will be it for me today in the kitchen. Thanks for watching today, and if you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing if you want to see what we have going on around here. And doesn't cost you anything, helps us out a little bit. We'll see you next time.